Hey Links community, it's Terramaster, and welcome to another episode of What's in the BoGX. We are close to getting done, but we are not quite done yet because we still haven't talked about one of the coolest characters in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and that is Zane Truesdale. And with talking about Zane Truesdale, obviously the card I have to talk about first is the ace card of the character, and that is, of course, Cyber Dragon. Now, I've got this in my predictions list because other people are being cowards about it. They're like, oh, I don't think we're going to get Cyber Dragons. I'm not a coward. I'm hoping and praying that you, whoever you are, who's in charge of speed duels at Konami now, is not a coward either. I'm looking right at you right now in the face and saying, give me Cyber Dragon. I want it. I need it. Moving on to other Zane monsters. We have got some other cyber monsters here. We've got Cyber Valley, which is just kind of like a stallish card. However, you can play around it if you get it off the field by effect. So it only kind of stalls if you attack it. It gets kind of some stall and draw effects here. You can like pause the video and read. I'm not going to go through all that. So long story short, it's like a stall monster-ish, and it gives you a couple of draws too if you can use it right. You can also use it during your turn to banish it and a monster to draw too. So I said I didn't read it, and then I kind of did part of it. So whatever. Cyber Phoenix is another Zane card. It negates targeting spell trap effects, which is, you know, fine, I guess. Depending on what like additional targeting cards we get, kind of. It puts your machines immune to like Book of Moon and Offerings to the Doomed without needing spellproof armor. So that's cool. Obviously, traps like Nightmare Wheel can't target your monsters either. And then Destroy by Battle, it kind of cycles through the card, so that's nice too. Cyber Dark Edge is the start of talking about the Cyber Darks here. The Edge is the one that equips the level 3 lower dragons in your graveyard. It gains attack equal to the equipped monster and can attack directly, but does half damage doing that. And then obviously the equipped monster acts like a union as well in the terms that it protects it from battle destruction, I think, only. Yeah, so not exactly a union, since union is also protecting card effect, but battle destruction, not bad. Cyber Dark Horn is one of your equipped targets. Nope, it's one of the other ones that equips. So its effect when it equips is it does piercing damage, and obviously protects itself too from destruction. Cyber Dark Keel also equips a level 3 lower dragon. If it is responsible by battle, it does 300 damage. So this is probably the worst one out of the three. Edge is the one that was used most in Duel Links. I know that, so that's something to look forward to. Probably if we get all three of these, Edge is probably the one that'll see the most play. It might be the only one that sees play, honestly. You will obviously have your level 3 dragons that are targets for those three. Starting with Cyber Dark Claw. If it's in the graveyard equipped to a monster, so i.e. you want to equip it to one of your 3 machines, Cyber Darks, send to the graveyard to protect them. You can use one of the following effects. You discard this card. Wait. When it's sent to the graveyard, you get to recycle a Cyber Dark monster from your graveyard. So that's pretty good. And then on top of that, you discard it to add a Cyber Dark spell trap from your deck to your hand. And we'll talk about some Cyber Dark spell traps in a bit here. So that's pretty cool. It searches Cyber Dark spell traps. And then during damage calc, if a monster could discard battles, you can send one monster from extra deck to the graveyard. This one isn't very relevant probably right now, unless the Cyber Dark Fusion monsters have some cool graveyard effects, which you want to use. However, it's not very good, I think, other than that. You've got Cyber Dark Cannon as well, which is actually a really, really good one. This one is the one that searches your Cyber Dark monsters from your deck to your hand by discarding it. So that kind of instantly gets your engine going because it sets itself up in the graveyard and then it sets up your Cyber Dark machine in your hand. And then you send a monster from your deck to the graveyard, so it kind of can be Foolish Burial as well, which makes it actually kind of insane. So I've also got Hunter Dragon in here, just so there is a target for the Cyber Darks. That's a vanilla level 3 dragon, an extra 100 attack points, but obviously no effect, no synergy. So probably the worst of the bunch if you want to target, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if you got Hunter Dragon, honestly. Before we stop talking about the Cyber Dark, so we move on to a Cyber Dark spell, I do want to talk about Cyber Dark Dragon. So this one takes Horn, Edge, and Keel. Probably not playable unless there's a skill that makes this easier to summon. And if it is special summon, you target a dragon monster in your graveyard, equip it to this card, gains attack equal to your original attack, right? So same kind of effect as with other Cyber Darks. It also gains 100 attack for each monster in your graveyard. If it would destroy a battle, destroy a chroma and shit. So really just like, you know, a fusion version of those three. Like it's not really that good, honestly. Cyber Darkness Dragon is better, but it requires 5 Cyber Deck effect monsters to be fusion summoned. Now this one is slightly more like viable to summon without a skill, because it's any Cyber Deck effect monster. You could use like 3 copies of Edge, for example, right? That's a lot easier to pull off. You equip a dragon or machine from your graveyard, and then it gains attack equal to it, obviously. And then if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send a equip card to the graveyard to negate. So so this one, what makes it really good, it's also a negate, a one-time negate for any card or effect. So that's really good, and also negates and destroys. So it's very relevant for Parasite Paranoids, and some things that just negate it allow it to stay in the hand. Whereas Cyber Darkness Dragon can negate and then destroy it, so it goes to the graveyard. So you're kind of rid of at least that copy of it for the time being, at least. Obviously, I don't want to get into the recycling nonsense. But yeah, so let's look at how you would potentially go into one of those Cyber Dark fusion monsters. And one of the ways is Cyber Dark Impact. Now, like I said, this can be searched by the Claw, and it adds a Cyber Dark Dragon from your extra deck. Summons a Cyber Dark Dragon from your extra deck by shuffling Horn, Edge, and Keel from your hand, field, or graveyard into the deck as fusion material. So that makes it slightly more plausible that you can summon Cyber Dark Dragon, but then again, Cyber Dark Dragon isn't all that great of a card. So it's better probably to just shoot for Cyber Darkness Dragon if we do indeed get Cyber Darkness Dragon, obviously. But the Cyber Darks are obviously the worst of the Cyber Dragon versus Cyber Dark archetypes. So why don't we go deeper into the Cyber Dragons themselves, and that starts obviously Cyber Dragon, which I already talked about. I had to talk about that one first, just because it's so iconic. Then we also have Proto Cyber Dragon. Its name just becomes Cyber Dragon only while it's on the field, so that's very limited of an effect because it doesn't let you do like graveyard shenanigans or anything like that. But it's still probably like usable depending on like the exact support we get. So, you know, let's see what happens. Cyber Dragon Dre is better because it has a much better stat line for one thing. Proto's only 1100. It's at 1800. I can't keep my mouse on it for some reason. There we go. Alright. And then when it's normal summon, the level 5 thing doesn't matter right now. That's mostly for like XC summoning and things like that. However, what makes this really good is that this card becomes Cyber Dragon while it's on the field or in the graveyard. That's the key thing to stop here, other than the stat line. Obviously, you normal summon 1800. That's not terrible. And then that's actually really, really good because you can use that then for fusion summoning from your graveyard as well as your field. And then if it's banished, you can target one Cyber Dragon monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. So if you do banish it for a fusion summon, you can then go ahead and make one of your Cyber Dragon monsters immune to destruction for the rest of the turn, which can be really, really good. So this card potentially has a lot of benefits to playing it. There's also Cyber Dragon Zui, which becomes Cyber Dragon only in the graveyard. And then you reveal a spell in your hand, becomes Cyber Dragon until the end phase. So it can also potentially become one on the field as well. So again, still pretty good as far as like the substitution thing goes. Way better than Proto, obviously, because the graveyard thing. And then when it attacks a monster against you in attack, so it's essentially 1800 for attacking, but it's weak that it's not 1800 when it's receiving attacks. So Dre is obviously better than Zwei here, rhyming. Then you got Veer, which is actually a really, really good one, because it becomes against Cyber Dragon in the field or graveyard. Now, stat line isn't as good as 1100 to 1600. But if you normal summon special summon Cyber Dragon, you can special summon this card from your hand. So immediately, if you summon a Cyber Dragon monster, which can be one of the substitutes, it goes ahead and allows you to special summon itself. And then each Cyber Dragon you control gains 500 attack or defense. So it's like it boosts up itself and your other Cyber Dragons. So whether that's an actual Cyber Dragon, you boost that to 2600, really powerful, or a Dre becomes 2300, which again is actually really, really good. And then it's just, other than that, it's just kind of spamming the field, right, to give you like more fodder, whether it's on your field or in the graveyard. So again, depending on what the Cyber Dragon skill is, like there can be a lot of use for these substitutes. Cyber Barrier Dragon. Now this card is only summoned by the spell card Attack Reflector unit. And I do believe I have that in here somewhere. Yes, Trap card Attack Reflector unit. Sorry, I said spell earlier. You tribute a Cyber Dragon, Especially and Barrier Dragon from hand or deck. So again, this can make use of those substitutes. Once per turn, if it's in attack mode, your opponent's next attack and negate it. Now this is not very good. This is honestly going to be just box filler if it comes in, because I don't see it being played, honestly. Cyber Laser Dragon is probably similar. However, it does have a slightly better effect, but I still think it's too much to pull off. It's summoned by Photon Generator. What's it called? Photon Generator unit, which again, well, this time it's a spell card. Quick play spell though, so that's kind of cool. But you have to tribute 2 Cyber Dragons to get Laser Dragon. So yes, it has a decent effect, but that's why I said it's not going to be playable, because yeah, it's monster removal once per turn. However, it's not good because you need to tribute 2 Cyber Dragons to summon it out. So again, probably box filler here with all 4 of these. You've got Cyber Larva, which if it's targeted for an attack, you don't take battle damage, so good little stall card. And then when it's destroyed by battle, you spare summon a Cyber Larva from your deck. So it floats, it sets up your graveyard with machines, if that's what you need for some reason. And then it's also actually usable, as is something like Cyber Valley actually, with Machine Duplication. You target a machine monster with finderless attack, and you get 2 monsters from your deck with the same name as that face-up monster. Now this is really for, from what I have here, Cyber Valley. To get 2 Cyber Valleys and use Cyber Valley's effect to get yourself some nice draw power, cycle to your deck a little bit. I do think we're going to get this card because historically Speed Duels has been giving like consistent support to machines. And I think as they realize like, hey, machines are almost good, but like they're not quite there yet. And obviously when I say machines, I don't mean unions, I mean generic machines. So I think this is when we'll finally get a powerful card like Machine Duplication to kind of get us to that point. So I hope I'm right on that. Going back to kind of the specific Cyber Dragon stuff though, you have Cyber Repair Plant, where it uses Cyber Dragon in your graveyard as a condition to activate one of the 3 effects. However, if you have 3 or more Cyber Dragon in your graveyard, you can activate both effects. One of the 2 effects, sorry. You can either recycle a light machine monster, or search a light machine monster, or recycle a light machine monster from your graveyard to your deck. So you don't recycle it to your hand, you recycle it to your deck. That one's not that great. I mean, it could be if you kind of want to like recycle it and then search it again, but the searching is really good. So Cyber Repair Plant can actually be very useful to, like, as long as you have some way to set your graveyard up really quickly and efficiently, you go ahead and use Cyber Repair Plant to go ahead and like get your combos really rolling. Speaking of getting combos rolling, Evolution Burst. If you have a Cyber Dragon, it's removal for any card your opponent controls. Now this is something that Speed Duels has really been lacking, which is like target a card and just destroy it, right? We have offerings, but like that has a huge cost to it of skipping your draw phase. So something like this, yes, it's a combo, but look at how many Cyber Dragons there would be if we get all these. So it's really not that hard to imagine this card actually being playable in Speed right now. You've also got Future Fusion in here because Zane played this card. I decided to throw it in here, although it could have just as easily gone in the generic episode. That's probably going to be the last one of the series. Future Fusion is just absurd, right? Future Fusion is how you take your Cyber Dragons from your deck and you set up your Cyber Twin or Cyber End Dragon, and this is the perfect time to talk about those 2. So Cyber Twin Dragon is 2 Cyber Dragon monsters, and it can make a second attack during each battle phase, 2800, very, very powerful, very good for OTKs. Cyber End Dragon, same thing, very good for OTKs. It's 3 Cyber Dragons, it does piercing damage, and it's 4,000 attack, so a direct attack from this will straight up win you the game. And it can also pierce and deal big damage even if your opponent has a monster in defense mode. And how do you make it deal even bigger damage? Well, my friends, the answer to that is simply Power Bond. Fusion summoned by using hand or field as fusion materials, and it essentially doubles its attack for that turn. However, during the end phase, you take damage equal to that attack gain, but this is purely going to be an OTK card. It's going to be a big gamble, big risk card, where if you OTK, great, but however, if your opponent survives, then you probably will lose the duel. So it's much more balanced of an OTK than what we have in Speed Duel right now, which is you get to summon 2 3500 beaters and attempt to OTK, and if you fail, there's no real penalty. where I like this much better, where like if you want to go all in on that OTK, you better be sure you're going to get it. You've got Cyber Network, where it's not that great of a card. Like if Cyber Dragon is on the field, you banish a light monster, and then when it's sent to the graveyard, you special summon light monsters, and then you destroy spell and traps. So it's like not that great. It's also destroying spell and traps you control. So again, not that great. And then monsters have their effects negated. You can't conduct your battle phase until you activate the effect. This is, honestly, I don't see this being played. Box filler, but it's a Cyber Dragon card that they're probably going to give us, so I'm predicting it. Cybernetic Overflow, on the other hand, is a really, really good card. You banish Cyber Dragon with different levels from hand and or graveyard, and then you pop cards on the field equal to the number you banished. Now that is absolutely insane of a card, because it does, first of all, it doesn't target, and it's quick removal that you can kind of have flexibility on how many you want to remove. So that's insane. And it also has the additional effect of, if it's set and it gets destroyed by a breaker or night beam or something like that, you get benefit out of that. You get to add a cyber spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which can be another overflow, I believe. Yeah, you can only use Cybernetic Overflow once per turn, but it searches itself if it gets destroyed. So this card is insane, and I feel like this is kind of the card that can push Cyber Dragons over the top from being like a fun rogue deck to like, oh my god, this deck is meta. So we need something like this to make Cyber Dragons meta, which is why I'm kind of predicting that we're going to get this. Then there's just a couple of Zane staples here. You've got not one Zane staple. Pulse Mines is really just a generic machine thing. Power Wall, Zane used this, so you take damage. You protect yourself by using your deck to the graveyard. Whatever. Pulse Mines, this is generic machine support. It's also really, really good because if it changes your opponent monsters to defense, and then also any monsters they summon are changed to defense, and you have to control machine to have it. So this is very an OTK preventative kind of deck. It also prevents your opponent from like summoning monsters in attack. So if they have monsters that have low defense, this will make them hesitate to summon that, because then you'll just be able to run them over. So very cool card here. It was kind of abused in Duel Links, and I see how it was and how it might be again here. They had to like put it on the limited list. But I don't think it'll be that much of a problem in Speed Duels, because we have so much OTK right now. And if we get Power Bond, we'll have more. That we really need anti-OTK cards like this that are actually really cool and work with machines. So this could actually go into like a Spellproof armor deck really well too, since one of Spellproof's biggest weaknesses is actually getting OTK'd. So something like Pulse Mines would help them out a ton. And then let's actually talk about a few cards that I don't think we're going to get, but are possible because they're Zane related or Cyber Dragon related. You've got Cyberdark Inferno. It protects your Cyberdark effect monsters that are equipped by card effect destruction, and then also targeting effects. So I feel like protecting from effect destruction and targeting effects is a bit too much this early in Speed Duels. Honestly, the rest of the effect, the card isn't that bad. I kind of like the rest of the card. However, that first part I think is what makes it too much for Speed Duels at this time. So that's why I think this is very unlikely that we're going to get this, because it's just too much protection at this point in Speed Duels. Cyber Dragon Core is the same thing. I think it's just too powerful this early on. I think Cyber Dragons can be competitive in meta without it. They don't need it right now. They might need it in the future. They probably will need it in the future. But until that point, I think we don't need to introduce Cyber Dragon Core. Probably too powerful. It adds a Cyber Spell Trap from your deck to your hand on normal summon. And then you banish it from your graveyard to summon a Cyber Dragon monster from your deck. So it's search, and then it's also special from deck. That's I think probably too good, and it also becomes Cyber Dragon substitute while field or graveyard. So I think those three effects combined are probably too much right now for where Speed Duels is, and kind of like it's still in the early stages as a card game. So as a Yu-Gi-Oh format is what I should say. So I think it's too soon for this. Eltenin, I think it's too soon for this as well, since you kind of just it's mass monster removal, and all you have to do for it is really set up a graveyard. So this card might be good at some point and viable in Speed Duels at some point to like a good time to introduce this, but it's not right now. It's not right now. Same thing with Cyberload Fusion, where it's essentially letting you summon Cyber Dragon monsters by it's letting you shuffle fusion materials into your deck from either your field or your banish pile. So I think Cyber Dragons have so many ways to kind of banish themselves and get benefit off of that over Cyberload Fusion is probably too much right now. Again, I could be wrong, which is why it's here, but I just think it's too much for this moment. I think this card would be more reasonable as like a once per duel skill. It can compete with some of the really powerful skills that we already have. So because of that, I think it's better to have Cyberload Fusion as a skill than as a card right now. But even the skill, you could argue, might be too broken if we get a ban list. If we don't, it's probably fine. I don't know. This one just depends on kind of how things shake out for the meta, whether or not it's too strong or not as a skill. I think as a card, it is too strong because you can run 3 of it then. But then, you know, and you would say, but you have to draw it. However, there's too many ways to search the cyber spells. Instant Fusion, I think, is a card Zane played. That's why I threw it in here. Sorry if I'm wrong about that. I think it's too good, too generic. But the thing is, in Speed Duels, we don't have like overly broken targets for this yet. I say that, but we have Thousand Eyes Restrict, so I'm a complete moron. Thousand Eyes Restrict is the reason I've had this down here in the first place. So I don't think we want this to be like an instant TER summon like it was in the TCG for a bit. So that's why I think this is very unlikely, but it's just something I thought worth mentioning because Lucas honestly mentioned a lot of these cards. So this was one of those that I didn't think of, but he did. Chimeritic Fortress Dragon, kind of the same issue here. I think it's too generic right now because you don't even have to use a fusion spell. So it doesn't really go with the fusion meta. Like it's like fusion in name only. So like I don't necessarily like that for a GX era. I think we should go more like actual fusion, like what fusion was meant to be, right? So that's why I think Fortress Dragon is probably too soon. It also becomes like really strong, really fast. So also it uses your opponent's machines, which I think like let's not start with that stuff, guys. Like contact fusion with your opponent's monsters. It's too soon for that. Like I want Speed Duels to go more in a direction of where you can't use your opponent's monsters as materials to summon your own boss monsters, and this kind of goes in the opposite direction. So I really hope we don't get this, but seeing as Speed Duels loves going in that direction where you love like taking your opponent's monster, tributing your opponent's monster, it's possible we do go in this direction, which is why it's here, but it's unlikely because I'm really hoping that we go in a different direction with the GX box. Alright guys, that's all I have for this episode for Zane. This was the longest one since Jaden, and I apologize for that, but if you made it this far, thank you. We've only got 2 more episodes left as far as I know, so I'll see you next time for Bastion, and then after that, it's Staples, and this series is done. So Terra Master, out.